So usually when we see something unusual on our plants, like what is appearing on this photograph, these leaves of plants, probably fallen from a plant, they are having unusual color. So maybe you can say that these are leaves that are mature or older leaves. They have changed the normal usual color into brown, light brown color. But we all agree that there are some kind of spots, patches, dark brown spots like this. So that is one of the reason we can consider that a plant or plant part or organ is having some kind of a disease. So up to now we were talking about the management of other major groups of pest like weeds and the insect pest. So diseases like this, they are also necessary to be managed, because the function of the plants will be, of course, impaired or affected by these type of diseases. Why diseases are important in agriculture or generally in the world? Because due to the diseases, there are many losses possible in plant production or crop production. So if there are no actions taken to control diseases, these types of diseases will be creating yield losses. Now, see these again on these rice leaves, there are patches that are covering these leaves. See, somewhere here, there are patches covering these leaves. Then here, these fruits are rotten, some are cracked. So obviously, we can understand that something wrong in these fruits. Now, both conditions, both means these patches on the leaves, like see the yellow color, light brown color or ash color patches are there. Here the fruits are also damaged in these tomato plants. So why we can say that due to these diseases here or in this situation, in tomato plants like this or in rice plant, the yield will be lost. What may be the reason for that? Can you please help me? So please don't take much time today. Do not delay your responses. Why this condition will be reducing rice yield? Now see, this rice is already, these plants are bearing panicle, grain, seeds are developed, fruits are developed here. But a farmer will think that these are having a yield loss. What kind of function is affected by this condition? So
photosynthesis surface?
Here, of course, when the leaves are affected by uh, disease, now with the insect pest also we mention like that. So if an insect is eating a leaf, that part is lost and the photosynthesis affected. Now here, because of the disease, these parts of the leaves are affected, but we do not harvest leaves in rice. But as you correctly mentioned, the yield or these grains are filled by stored food, and food is produced by carrying out photosynthesis. If photosynthesis is affected, then if it is reduced, the grain filling will be reduced and the yield is lost. Then here, the damage is obviously clear because now these are the parts we are going to harvest, and the harvested parts are, of course, lost. So here, the damage is direct. We can easily understand that there is a loss of yield because these diseases are having direct damage on the harvested part. Here the direct loss, direct damage, and in this crop the damage is indirect because the disease is not affecting the harvested part. But whether it is direct damage or indirect damage, the yield loss is obvious, and sometimes maybe even though the damage is indirect, the yield loss will be very high. So whether it is direct or indirect, we need to control the diseases. Then, in order to prevent the yield loss, we are having some expenditures. Now, in worldwide, there are around $7 billion spent in management of the diseases. Maybe these amounts will be more than that, more than the 7 billion in certain years, because sometimes due to various reasons, the diseases are causing severe problems. So expenditures are higher, cost of production will be higher, and in addition to these higher cost of production and due to that expenditures, our profit will be reduced, prices of the food and other products will be increased. So in addition to those expenses, yield losses, due to the loss of yield, now many of our cultural traditions, now here it is not only now agricultural techniques. Now, when there is a disease like this available, when the diseases are available like this, then we have to change our cultural practices, crop maintenance practices. So because of that, we can say the agricultural or crop production techniques, cultural traditions of cultivation is changed. In addition to that, we know that there are many cultural rituals carried out with the new harvest. In New Year period, during the harvest, there are traditions carried out. So because of that, because of the loss of yield, those festivals, yield festivals, all the religious festivals are related with the products from this food production industry, agriculture. Now, whether it is Buddhism, Hinduism, Muslim religion, everywhere, those rituals are related with some preparation of food, offering foods, sharing foods. So all those things are affected, right? So there are social impact of plant diseases are also there. Then, now those are some fact or possible outcomes of a plant disease. But in addition to that, due to plant diseases, some disasters, catastrophic losses are occurred during the plant diseases at higher level. For an example, in Ireland in 1845, there was a famine caused by potato late blight disease. Due to the loss of yield, due to the destroyal of potato fields, they say that huge higher number of people were killed, died due to lack of food, lack of one of their major food, potato. So you can search about that Irish potato famine in 1845. Then in all kind of plant disease-based literature, those types of problems are given as an example. Now these types of higher level of spread of a disease is named or mentioned as epidemic of a disease. In our country at that time, as Ceylon, we had an epidemic of coffee rust disease. So these are the diseased or infected leaves of coffee with that coffee rust disease. Now, why I have put these photographs of these two versions of the book written by Christine Wilson. She is the daughter of Dr. R.L. Spittle, who was in Sri Lanka, who loved Sri Lankan people. And this lady, as a young girl, traveled with her father in Sri Lanka, Ceylon at that time. So they have observed what has happened during this epidemic of coffee rust disease. And she wrote a famous novel, The Bitter Berry, and it is translated into Sinhala as well. Maybe there are translations into other languages. So anyway, I am just putting that information to you. If you are interested, I think no harm if you can find this book in a library, or you are purchasing that book, then you can read. And it is not a book on disease management or plant pathology, but a well explained story is there. She has connected this disease problem into the life of planters at that time. And due to this epidemic of coffee rust disease in 1869 and around these years, Sri Lanka has, in our country, the coffee plantations were replaced by tea plantations because there was no possibility of controlling coffee rust at that time. So coffee plantations were destroyed and tea has been introduced. So introduction of tea was not a problem. Still we are growing tea and earning money from that. But the reason behind that change was this coffee rust disease. Then some other examples in our neighboring country, India, also there were famines caused by various plant disease epidemics. So, due to the destroyal of fields of rice and the wheat mainly, so in India there were deaths of people. Right. I think then I think we have sufficiently justified the studies on plant diseases, and there are many valid reasons to study about plant diseases. Not only that, many reasons to control the plant diseases. Right. So to control the plant diseases, we need to understand how the diseases are caused, what are the reasons for plant diseases. So, briefly, if we go through some of the causes, reasons for the plant diseases. Now, higher percentage of plant diseases are caused by a category of microorganisms named as fungi. So fungi or fungal diseases are caused by fungi. So the symptoms of fungal diseases are, usually we can easily understand that. We will talk about the symptoms later on as well. Now see these white color, whitish cottony-like appearance on the fruits. Here the gherkin fruits. Initially the patch will be water-soaked patch and then covered by a whitish mycelium or powder-like layer. Then later it will be turned into dark brown or black color. So in addition to that, some old mature trees are affected by plant diseases like these. So maybe when we observe this appearance on the plant surface, like appearance of this white color, dark brown or black color appearance on the plant, or these types of appearance of all these are structures of the causal organism. Then once we observe such things on the plant, that means the disease has already spreaded into the plant. So maybe the problem is at a worse situation when the disease is already expressed by the plant parts. So fungi, other than fungi, some other organisms called the microorganisms from kingdom Protista or protist, some type of primitive microorganisms. Then there are bacterial plant diseases caused by plant pathogenic bacteria. Then now when it comes to bacteria, we know that they are having certain specific structures, a cell wall which is covering the cell. Then hairy-like structures. But there are microorganisms who are having more primitive structures. They don't have so-called or well-formed cell wall like these. These organisms are having only a membrane covering the cytoplasmic content. We name them as group molecules, and they are also causing plant diseases. So molecules means they are in the group of microorganisms who are very primitive without a cell wall. And as there is no cell wall, they have to survive inside a host cell. So they are obligatory parasites. The organisms like mycoplasma, phytoplasma are in this group molecules. So we are having examples of diseases like maybe you have seen the change of papaya plants, papaya young leaves and terminal end of the stem become very small, shrink, pencil-like end of the papaya plant caused by these molecules of prokaryotic microorganisms. Prokaryote means, now karyote microorganisms means they are more advanced, evolved, and the well developed cell walls are available, but these organisms, primitive, no well organized cell wall. Then another group, simple structure, viruses. We heard about viruses a lot in last 2-3 years due to the COVID pandemic situation, COVID-19 pandemic situation, and that cause of human disease caused by a virus. There are many plant diseases caused by viruses, and viruses are containing a protein capsule. So this is an electron picture of a virus, protein capsule, and inside this capsule there is DNA or RNA molecule. In most of the plant pathogenic viruses, an RNA molecule is there. Another group of microorganisms causing plant diseases, they are nematodes. So nematodes are relatively larger with some complex structure, worm-like organisms. Then plant pathogenic nematodes. Plant pathogenic means it is capable to cause a disease in plants. So plant pathogenic means a disease generating in plants. So plant pathogenic nematodes or nematodes that are attacking plants, they are having a specific structure like this, a needle-like structure in the front end of the nematode. It is named as stylet. Stylet is used by the nematodes to pierce the host plant tissue and suck the cell sap or the nutrients needed by the nematode, and that will be causing a disease in the plants. Other than the parasites, parasitic microorganisms, plants are infected by some other plants also. So maybe you heard about this plant, dodder plants, a common name in English. Then Cuscuta, the scientific name, Cuscuta reflexa. Then now see these green color, these leaves are the normal self-living plant, and these thread-like structures, these light brown, yellow color, see these, now this is a parasitic plant, see these flowers of the parasitic plant, and it is absorbing its requirement from this host plant. So this is the host plant, and these thread-like these are stems and these are flowers of Cuscuta plant. So you can't find an end of this parasitic plant, and because of that, it is named in Sinhala as Aga Mula Neti Val. Agak mulak hoyaganna bෑ me Paraposhi Shake. So because of that, it is named as Aga Mula Neti Val, or a plant which is not showing any start or end of the stem. Right. So starting from microorganisms up to higher plants, this is a well-developed parasitic plant which is not conducting photosynthesis, but it is a higher plant, unfortunately parasite, damaging our crop plants or other maybe landscaping plants, plants in forest. So Cuscuta. So there are plant pathogens starting from microorganisms like these, and higher plants, higher in the botanical orders, parasitic seed plants. So see that there is a wide variation of plant pathogens from microorganisms up to higher plants. These are microscopic fungi, nematodes, bacteria, and molecules, viruses, bacteria. They are sometimes difficult to be observed in through the optical microscope, but you need to use an electronic microscope or electron microscope to observe bacteria, viruses, or molecules. But we can see the plant diseases appearing on our plants, or when they are showing some kind of expressions, we can consider that there is a disease in our plants. So now I have explained a little bit about plant diseases, and we can see different types of plant diseases appearing like this. See something different on these plants. Now, if we consider this plant as a normal tomato plant, we can see a difference in this plant. So this is another plant with similar appearance, not tomato. So by looking at these pictures, now can you help me to define a plant disease? What do you mean by a plant disease? Suppose that this is a healthy fruit-bearing plant, and all other these plants, we can see that there is a problem. Maybe we name these as diseased or plants with a disease. Now, if somebody is asking you, what is a plant disease? What does it mean? Can you please elaborate what is a plant disease? Yes, please.
Economically affect for farmer.
It is economically affecting the farmer, yes. So that is the ultimate result because of the plant disease. You are correct. Now, so that is the result, outcome of the plant disease. Now, what is a disease? If we explain what is a disease, and due to that disease, the economical outcome or income generation, profit of the production is reduced. So these plants, so we agree that these are infected or plants with a disease. What is the difference between compare these two? If we assume that these are tomato plants, normal plants, healthy plants, and these are plants, tomato plants with a disease, what is the difference? Yes, you can.
යම් සාධකයකින්ද මුළු ශාකයම හෝ ශාක කොටස්වල සිදුවෙන සාමාන්‍ය තත්ත්වෙන් බැහැරව සිද්ධ වෙන අපගමනයක්.
So it is a deviation from normal conditions due to a reason, a factor, but that deviation, that is true. So it is a deviation from normal condition. What do you mean by normal condition? It is a deviation from normal functioning. So this tomato, yes?
Metabolic reaction.
So the normal functions of the plants, like now these plants, if we assume that it is a normal plant, so it carry out the photosynthesis normally, it carry out flowering normally. So the absorption of nutrients, water is carried out normally, and because of all the normal functions, this plant is started flowering, fruit setting, and now fruit bearing is there. But these plants, due to some reason, it is not absorbing water properly. Because of that, the plant is dehydrated. Here also the same. Leaves are droopy, and due to that, the photosynthesis is affected, and the affected photosynthesis will be finally showing the reduction of yield or reduction of fruits produced by these plants. Right. So why we say that these plants are infected, or how we can identify that these plants are infected? Because these plants, this one, these plants, all of these plants are expressing that there is a plant, there is a disease in these plants. So the pathogen has affected to the plant negatively. It has interfered with normal functions and deviated from normal functioning. And it is not a temporary deviation. It is a deviation for a certain period of time, so that the outcome, yield, is affected. Economically, it is affected. So that is about the plant disease, and the expression of disease by plants is named as symptoms of plant diseases. So there are different types of symptoms of plant diseases, like lesions. Now that means the leaf spots, patches on the plants. Now when the normal green color is lost and changed into yellow color, brown color, the reduction of chlorophyll, reduction of green color due to the reduction of chlorophyll content is named as chlorosis. The lesions means the patches with some internal and external changes. When you say necrosis, it is the death of cells and tissues. So here we can see chlorosis, lesions with some necrosis, necrotic patches, dead cells, tissues. Another plant with chlorosis and necrotic lesions. Serious level of blight. Blight means that the appearance of some burning appearance of leaves or other plant parts. You had seen the late blight of potato. Then here also the sudden development of dead cells and tissues, sudden necrosis. So there are multiple types of symptoms. Change of color from normal green color, light or yellowish green color. And sometimes not only reduction of green color, maybe development of some different colors like see reddish brown color due to the production of anthocyanins. Then due to the malfunctioning of plants, sometimes blocking phloem. Then if the phloem is blocked, the translocation of food is affected. And because of that lack of translocation, in some areas, there can be a higher concentration of sugar produced by photosynthesis. Then leaves are unable to keep higher level of sugar because it will change the osmotic pressure and damaging the leaves and their functions will be affected. Therefore, forcefully, those increased sugar amount will be converted into anthocyanins, and anthocyanin is causing this color change. Then some pathogens, they are affecting the development of proteins and protein-based pigments like chlorophyll. So because of that, some areas will be having dark green color, other areas are having light green color. That type of variation of green color is named as mosaic symptom. So mosaic symptom like this. Then there can be some other changes of shapes, like change of these, see this curled and deformed leaves, leaf blade, petiole, and these types of changes are named as rugosity of plants. Then now, up to now, we were talking about the changes of appearance, color change, shape is changed, and other than that, unusual developments of plant, unorganized cell mass like this can be developed. We call the development of galls, and changes in the shape of the tissue and size of the tissue or organ. When unusual excess development, we name it as hypertrophy, overdevelopment. So the gall development we call it is a goal like, so it is similar to a similar type we call the tumors, development of tumors in other organism body, human, mammalian, animal body, tumor-like structure called galls. Sometimes we name them as plant tumors also. Now, we know that some symbiotic bacteria are developing nodules in plants. Now, these root nodules, sometimes when root nodules are produced in legume plants, we consider it as a benefit because the root nodules caused by rhizobium bacteria, that is in collaboration with plant, rhizobium bacteria is in these nodules, they are fixing atmospheric nitrogen, and plant can absorb them from these nodules. But sometimes the pathogens are damaging roots and creating these types of nodules. Unusual development of unorganized cell mass, the root nodules. So, if we continue with the symptoms, some lesions, we consider these lesions as damping of lesions on seedlings. When these lesions are developed on mature parts, mature stems of the plant, now these are immature plants. In mature plants, the lesion shape we name as a concave shape like this. So these are cankers. So canker. Now these are initially developed as water-soaked lesion, damping of lesions, and cankers like this, stem cankers. Now, other than these vegetative parts or leaves of the plants, reproductive structures of plants are also affected. The fruits, seeds are affected by the pathogens. When we observe direct damages to the harvested part, we'll consider it as a more obvious and serious problem. But not only these harvested parts, fruits, flowers, when they are damaged, the disease is serious. Even leaf disease will be more serious, like Copheras disease. We had completely destroyed coffee plantations in our country that time, Ceylon. Change of the flowers, floral parts. Then earlier we mentioned about the excessive growth, hypertrophy. Then there can be lower development. Now this is the normally developed plant. Here, this plant is having reduced, impaired, stunted growth. It is considered as hypotrophic symptom. Hypertrophy means excessive development. Hypotrophy means lower development. Then here the symptom is named as wilt symptom, dehydration symptom. We observe the symptom on aerial parts of the plants, above ground part. So this may be caused by low moisture of the soil, or maybe due to some physical damage. Plant is showing lack of water absorption, physical damage to the roots of the plants. Maybe some toxin produced by some organism, the wilting or dehydration symptom can be observed. Then, other than that, these types of damages, now here, when an insect is damaging the stem or root inside, the transportation of water may not be possible to the aerial parts, and plants are showing symptoms. So, because of the damage to the root system, blocking of root system by a pathogen or other organism, plant will show the wilt symptom. Now, I have mentioned that this wilt symptom is shown by these aerial parts. The leaf is drooped, dehydrated, but the real cause, the factor is located somewhere else. Maybe the pathogen is not on the leaves, maybe inside the stem or inside the root system. So, initial damage, initial infection is inside the roots. So, that may give us idea that some symptoms are available in one place, that is the primary symptom. So, root is infected, showing some symptoms, and due to the infection in the roots, the aerial parts are showing these dehydration. Maybe on the leaves, the pathogen is absent, but pathogen is somewhere here, but causing symptoms in other places as well. Wilt in leaves, rot of the root system. Wilting, rolling of the leaves in one place may be the symptom we are observing here, but the damage may be inside the stem, inside the roots, like that. Right. I think in addition to the change of tissue shape and sizes like this, see, all possible changes are there. Shape and size of the leaves, abnormal growth, overdevelopment, oversize or inferior sizes, brooms-like appearance is there. Now, all these are changes in the plants. In addition to that, now, in addition to these symptoms of the disease, sometimes we are observing the structures of the pathogen appearing on the plant. So, the structure of the pathogen, now here, the fungus is growing initially inside the plant, and now it has ruptured the skin of the plant and appearing on the surface of the plant. So, see, these structures of the pathogen will give us a sign that it is definitely caused by a plant pathogen. So these types of structures of the plant pathogen appearing on the infected plant, we called host plant, they are named as signs of the diseases, right? So please have a clear idea that symptoms and signs of the plant diseases, two different things, symptoms and the signs. So symptoms means an appearance on the plant part, plant organ, combinedly, collaboratively developed by the pathogen and the plant or the host. Those are symptoms. So, for an example, here, abnormal appearance, abnormal growth, abnormal shape, abnormal color, abnormal shape, droopy appearance, all those are symptoms. But when we observe some organs, structures of the pathogen, we name them as signs of the pathogen. See, on this cucurbitaceae fruit, a pumpkin, on the surface, there are white color, powder-like structure is developed. So that is actually a sign of a plant disease. There can be microscopic signs that are visible by using our naked eye, or there can be microscopic signs that are visible only through a microscope or some other device. Then some unusual signs like this: an ooze produced by a bacteria. When a plant part is infected by a bacteria, that bacteria is destroying the plant cells and producing their own toxin. So those are ooze structure of the pathogen. This ooze, the gummy-like exudate, it contains the destroyed cell mass of the host plant and some bacteria. So we name that as bacterial ooze. So when you put an infected stem or root of a plant, that root or stem is releasing these types of ooze from the cut ends or damaged ends of vascular tissues like xylem or phloem. So signs of a bacteria, signs of nematode. Now nematodes are appearing, and they are similar to root hairs of the plant root. Structures. Now here, the structures of that parasitic Cuscuta plant, it has produced fruits, seeds as well. So, up to now, we had discussed some basic things about plant diseases. Then in addition to that, I would like to mention another important thing about a plant disease, which may be discussed again later in detail. When you say a plant disease, it is caused by three major components. There are three major components of plant diseases. So disease is consist or created by the pathogen which is infecting the host, but to develop the disease in a host by a pathogen, there should be some required environmental conditions for the development of that plant disease. So, we have to consider that plant disease is a complex, consists of the host, the pathogen, and the environmental conditions. If the environmental conditions are not in favor of the disease development, if it is not in favor of the pathogen, the disease will not be developed. So this concept is very important. You will understand it more in later stages. And this basic illustration, simple illustration, is always appearing on the books, literature on plant diseases or plant pathology, because this will explain a disease, and not only the explanation of a plant disease, it will explain the management of the plant diseases as well. So we will think about it. And about the management, we will talk also. But before going into the management, I would like to give you some other categorization of the plant diseases. So you can have just a very brief break, just because of my change of the slides. So it is not a longer break, maybe 1 or 2 minutes. I'll change this into another. So while I'm doing that, you can have simple, unavoidable break. Right. So when we are going to think about, when we are planning to control the diseases or manage the plant diseases, it is easy for us, for the management of plant disease, if we can categorize the diseases in a way that we can easily manage them. So first of all, there is a simple, basic 2 categories of plant diseases. One is non-infective diseases. That means those diseases are not caused by a pathogen. There are no plant pathogens. but it may be caused by some other factors, non-living factors like lack of nutrients, nutrient deficiency, maybe toxicity created by excess level of nutrients, lack of water or water relations are also causing the diseases. Excess level of water will be creating problems, or lack of water, lower level of water will be also creating symptoms. The major character of these non-infective or non-infectious diseases is that those diseases are not transmitted from one plant to another plant. There can be more than one plant affected by non-infective disease. That means there can be two plants with lower level of water supply showing wilting symptoms. But that doesn't mean that disease is transmitted from one plant to another plant. The disease is appearing on both plants because both plants are having the problem of lower level of water. Otherwise, it is not transmitted. Then there is a category called infective plant diseases. That means those diseases are caused by a pathogen. So pathogens are involved, and those pathogens are transmitted from one plant to other plant. In the infectious diseases or infective diseases, we can see the structures of the pathogen, not like in non-infective diseases. So as we have mentioned earlier, there are signs of diseases only appearing on infectious plant diseases. So we have to think about the signs of diseases. If they are appearing, that means an infectious disease is there in our plant. It can be a disease caused by a bacteria or mycelium of a fungus. So spores may be appearing, ooze may be excreted by the plant. So when there is a sign, it is easy to understand or identify what is the plant disease. In addition to the sign, there can be some symptoms after the interaction between pathogen and host plant is started. The host plant is showing us some symptoms. So wilting, lesions, curling, or other changes. When you say symptoms, there are two types of symptoms of plant diseases. Systemic symptoms, symptoms that are appearing throughout the whole plant. We name those symptoms as systemic symptoms. Systemic symptoms means the pathogen has spread throughout the whole plant. That means disease is systemic, symptoms are systemic. So wilting, can you remember, appearing in aerial parts. We are observing aerial parts. Maybe the whole plant is dehydrated. Maybe it is dwarfed, unusual short type plants. So those are systemic symptoms. Then there are localized symptoms. So localized symptoms means the symptoms that are appearing only in some limited areas. So sometimes we observe some symptom only on the leaves, leaf spots, changing patches. So if you can remember in previous presentation, I have shown you some leaf spots, patches, cankers. So maybe false smut symptom, this one, better to show you later. Otherwise, I have not described it earlier. Maybe in some other slides later, we can see them. Anyway, there are two types of symptoms. One category, systemic symptom. The other category, localized, only in limited area. So the importance of symptoms is that symptoms are allowing us to identify the plants, plant diseases. So plant diseases are identified mainly by a farmer using the symptoms of the plants. So at the location of the infection, we can observe symptoms, and based on the symptoms, we can identify the diseases. So those are two types of symptoms, and based on the symptom, we can identify the diseases. So to control diseases, many methods are applied. I'll just briefly mention about the management or control of the disease, some basic methods, and we'll see what are those methods, basic methods. When you say for the management of plant diseases, there are some specific groups of actions taken. Some of those are familiar for us because we have listened to those methods as methods of management of human diseases as well. For an example, quarantine methods. So not only for preventing human diseases, there are programs and policies to prevent or introduction of plant pathogens. There is a National Plant Quarantine Institute, which is responsible and taking actions to prevent the entry of plant pathogens, diseases into our country. Then there is another method, another group of methods named as phytosanitation. That means we are keeping our field, our plants free of plant pathogens. Free of plant pathogens because when we can keep our field without plant pathogens, or the plants with pathogens are destroyed, applied with some chemicals, or somehow if we keep our field without any plant pathogen, then the crop is protected from the infection by plant pathogens. Then another example of keeping phytosanitary conditions means that we know that sometimes our crop plant diseases are reserved in weed plants. So maybe weed management is also a phytosanitation method of plant disease management. So weed control can be also a phytosanitary method of disease management. Then there are many cultural practices that are useful for plant disease management. What are the cultural methods? That means the normal methods, normal crop production, cultural techniques, like when we start cultivation, we can use a resistant variety, resistant to certain diseases. Then as a cultural practice, if you can remember in our agronomy module, we mentioned about crop rotation, change of the crop. I think Amanda Madam was discussing with you about the cropping systems. So crop rotation, when there is a disease like bacterial wilt, it is difficult to control because the bacteria can live in the soil. But if we change our crop, rotate the crop, I think it is not necessary to talk about rotation now. If you can remember what we have discussed about rotation, crop rotation, that would be better. So crop rotation is another method of disease management, cultural practice. So it is a normal practice that is applied for better crop production. We can use it for disease management also. Then destruction of crop refuse or residues of the crop. That means when the harvest is taken, the remaining crop plants may be having some, it may be the remaining parts may contain some diseases. So we can destroy those residues and control the diseases by destroying those residues. If we establish the crop at the correct time, the crop plants will be having good vigor, immunity. When we harvest also, we need to do the harvesting at the correct time. That is also possible method of disease management. Those are normal cultural practices. In large plants, there is a possibility of removal of infected plant parts, damaged plant parts by pruning. And also when the number of plants are higher, if there are any diseases, we can remove the infected plants. We name that as thinning out of the plants. That means we remove the infected plants. Then when we apply fertilizer correctly, the plants are having good vigor. If we apply balanced fertilizer, then the plant will be having good development, good growth. Strong plants will be having more strength to fight with the diseases. Water management is also important cultural practice. Excess water will be favorable for diseases. Lack of water will be creating diseases. So proper water management is important. Sanitary measures we have mentioned earlier as a quarantine method. Sometimes we plant crops that are trapping diseases or pests, and then later on we can destroy the trap crop which has trapped our diseases. So these are normal practices that are useful for plant disease management. Now you can see that all these practices are normal crop production techniques that are applied by farmers to get some good quality and expected quantity of the yield. If these methods are not sufficient enough, maybe we need to treat the plants with some other methods like fungicide application, treatment of plant parts or planting material by some specific actions like radiation, hot water treatment, fungicide or other chemical application. So those things are also necessary to be carried out for the disease management. So this is a brief summary of the discussion on plant diseases. We will have to wind up the session at present with that point. So as it is a late hour, and if you wish to listen to some elaborated session on the same topic, you can join also for tomorrow's session as well in the morning. So those who are willing to participate to that, they can join also because today we had a brief discussion on the plant disease management. We have an introduction, classification, and management methods very briefly. So before winding up, if you need any question to be asked. Right, okay, then I'll wind up for today this summarized session, brief session for today, and we can have a maybe elaborative session if we like tomorrow as well. Right, thank you for your attention given. We will be meeting again depending on your wish. Right, thank you very much.